What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we've got to talk about the cannabis bill that is likely to head to the president's desk very soon. We're expecting to vote on this bill next week, but it's not the bill that you guys are most likely thinking of. It's not the full-fledged legalization bill, but it is the first ever cannabis bill that's likely to be sent to the president's desk. Now, the House and Senate have collaborated to create this bill. They're expecting that the House will be voting on it next Tuesday. And this bill we're going to dive into explain exactly what it is, but they're expecting that the Senate will quickly follow up with it and continue to progress this along the path to becoming law. But you can see it's called the Medical Marijuana and Cannabidol Research Expansion Act, expected to go through the House on Tuesday, and the Senate is expected to move quickly afterwards. And essentially, this bill is meant to aid cannabis research. It is the first bill of its kind to actually have a really, really good chance of getting to the president's desk. And it seems likely that Biden would sign this bill. He has voiced his opinion on cannabis legalization, and he is not necessarily in favor of full-fledged recreational legalization, but he is more friendly towards medical use, as well as especially cannabis research, which is what this bill is focused on. Now, as for how this could affect cannabis stocks, we'll dive into that a little bit, and then we'll update you guys on some news regarding the full-fledged legalization bill. But first off, I will cover a couple of things that this bill does contain that's, in my opinion, likely to pass. First off, it encourages the FDA to develop cannabis-derived medicines. The DEA would get a mandate to approve applications to manufacturers of cannabis-derived medicines and FDA-approved drugs under this bill. The Department of Health and Human Services is going to be looking at the risks of cannabis as well as the policies that are inhibiting research, and it states that it shall not be a violation of the Controlled Substances Act for state licensed physicians to discuss the risks and benefits of cannabis. So a bunch of positive things in this bill for people who are cannabis proponents. Now, obviously, if this bill does end up passing the House and Senate, as I expect it will, in the House, we already know that there is a lot of support for cannabis full-fledged legalization. So obviously the House will most likely be passing this bill. In the Senate, it does seem that this bill has passed before, right? They've already passed a different version of this bill. This version is only slightly altered, so it seems likely that we would see this bill pass again in the Senate and then get to the president's desk. And since Biden is somewhat friendly towards full-fledged somewhat friendly towards cannabis research, not friendly towards full-fledged legalization, it would seem likely that this bill would pass entirely. Now, this would be very good for cannabis stocks because it's indicating that potentially not only can there be more research done into cannabis, but it's potentially indicating that full-fledged legalization is more of a possibility. If you already see politicians passing little tidbits of legalization, such as research legalization, then it is going to be an indication that maybe politicians are likely to be more kind to full-fledged legalization. It's kind of like getting your foot in the door. Once politicians start to vote to legalize some aspects of cannabis, they're more likely to vote to legalize all aspects of cannabis. So fortunately, we could see that happening in the near future. And there is a real chance that we'll need that to happen in the near future because Chuck Schumer has said that he wants cannabis reform to happen this year after he's introduced his legalization bill. So he's aiming to get some kind of legalization coming through later this year before 2022 is over. Now, he's not saying that he needs the bill to be passed exactly as is. There's already been a bunch of updates to it over the past couple of months, ever since his initial draft was released. And that's been him trying to get more support from other lawmakers and other senators who will maybe be voting yes. Now that it's changed a little bit, but he's also saying that he's willing to change it more if that's what it takes to get more people on board. Basically, he wants something getting passed in 2022. And it'll be interesting to see the politicians voting later this year if it does actually get to a floor vote. It'll be interesting to see which politicians vote yes and which politicians vote no, especially considering the fact that the majority of Americans are in support of cannabis legalization. And this is an election year. The November midterm elections are coming up very soon in just a couple of months. So if we could get a vote for this bill before then, it would really help to open some people's eyes as to which politicians are on their side and which politicians are not on their side. So that could be a good indication of, which politicians are really voting with the people and which are, not that I'm accusing anyone of anything, but which might be voting alongside their friends at pharmaceutical companies or who knows where else. So the effect that all of this is having on cannabis stocks, unfortunately, over the past 2 days, you can see cannabis stocks like Sundial have been falling. Now, in my opinion, I don't think this will be happening for too long, especially if we get that research bill passing the House and Senate and getting to the president's desk and being signed into law. That would be a big indication that there's more of a chance than many investors think that full-fledged legalization could be coming. That would be a really big boon to cannabis stocks, in my opinion. Obviously, not the biggest financial boon. Full legalization is really what we want for that. And we're going to see later this year if that can happen. If Chuck Schumer can get it done, that would be my hope for cannabis stocks, that they would continue to do well under those kinds of economic environments when we have full-fledged legalization, or at the very least that we could get a lot of hype around these stocks and they could potentially pump up just on hype based on the fact that cannabis might be legalized sometime soon. And especially if it does get legalized, I expect there will be a whole bunch of buyers of these cannabis stocks. A lot of them have been pushed down dramatically over the past many months. They've gotten pretty darn cheap price-wise and market cap-wise, and a lot of investors might be flooding into them as soon as it looks like the economic environment for those stocks might be getting a little bit brighter. Now, the overall market we will be talking about in another video later today. If you guys are interested in that, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And other than that, guys, keep in mind, none of this is financial advice. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.